Hello, Andrew Myrons from Intuitive Finance. Wanted to talk to you about the unintended consequences of APRA's actions of trying to cut investors out of the market. I'm a little concerned that still to this date, after 2 to 3 years of regulatory actions, that no one has actually come out and said what is it that they're hoping to achieve. Of course, what we've seen is recently the APRA chairman, Wayne Byers, come out and say that these measures were always intended to be temporary. But it's funny with temporary measures that they're now being instilled for the long term. That said, what are the unintended consequences? Well, what we're seeing is for those buyers that had committed to off-the-plan purchases are now really struggling in the new environment to be able to secure finance. They may have made investment decisions 2 or 3 years ago that at that point in time they were absolutely eligible for a loan, put down a deposit and committed to a purchase. Now what we're finding is some of those people with the new rules and the new regulations in force are really struggling to fulfill their purchases. What that means for those people is that they can lose their deposit, and if the property can't sell, a developer can still take action against them. I don't think that was ever the intention. But again, I guess at that time, maybe those people were overcommitting themselves in the first place. Another unintended consequence we're seeing is that developers are now struggling to get some of their developments out of the ground and started. This is due to people not wanting to commit given the change of the rules. Unless a developer can get a certain amount of pre-sales as a rule, they struggle to get. Now, developments being approved but not getting started is not a new thing. But as our markets, Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, are developing a lot of new stock as our cities continue to grow, what we're finding is that some of those now aren't able to get started. This mightn't have a short-term consequence, but what's the long-term consequence if we continue to grow our cities? The other thing with cutting investors out of the market, of course, is what happens if investors aren't in the market and there's still people that need to live somewhere? If they can't afford to get in and buy themselves and the market is restricting, then you're going to find a supply and demand issue just for pure tenancies. This has the potential then to increase rents, and the exact same people who cannot afford to get into the market are also then going to struggle to rent in suburbs or areas close to their work, their schools or families. So I think that's another unintended consequence that hasn't really been addressed. Overall, a lot of the measures that have been introduced I actually agree with. High LVRs and interest-only loans where people weren't putting enough in, I think is sound lending practice. A lot of the lending practices that we've recently changed have very good long-term consequences. But I guess we just want to make sure that we're not leaving some people behind. Until next time, I hope that was helpful. Of course, we're always here to help if you need a hand at Intuitive Finance. You can check out our website or give us a call.